Hello friends, welcome to another tutorial of EOBeam parametric modeling and C# scripting channel. In this tutorial we're going to see a C# script that changes the format of units in Revit. To show you the script, I'm going to create a new project with an imperial construction template. I am going to do it this way so you can see more clearly the effect of the script. First of all, I'm going to create a wall, and I'm going to measure it with the dimension tool. And then I am going to call the script through the Revit adding manager. I am going to execute it. Here you can see how the unit system of the project changed from imperial to metric, and the dimensions format it's quite particular. It has four decimal digits, and a plus symbol that indicates that the unit is positive. And here you have a test dialog that says as its main instruction that you should check the units dialog to see if the formatting is correct and it affected the whole project. So let's try it. Let's go to the Manage tab and to the Project Units dialog. And here we see that actually all the project was changed from imperial to metric system, and that these particular two fields are changed to a very specific formatting. And that's what this script does. So let's start to this tutorial about how creating this script. First of all, I am going to open, as usual, a PowerShell and a file explorer. First, I'm going to move to the folder that I desire to work on, in which I desire to work. I'm going to change directory to the EOBeam folder, and there I am going to search for the current tutorial folder. Change directory to current tutorial folder. This is an empty folder, as you can see here in my right. I'm going to clear this PowerShell, the Windows PowerShell, so we can follow this more clearly. Then I am going to create a project of .NET in .NET framework. I'm going to say .NET new project class library. It is written in this way, class lib. And I'm going to specify its name, -n, to specify its name, and it's going to be called formatting units. Excellent. This way, .NET Framework will create the project for us, as we see here in the right. As usual, we have here three elements: a folder with typical files and two more files. We're going to rename -item class1.cs to formatting units.cs. Rename item. It says here it does not exist. Of course, I haven't changed directory to formatting units folder. This is the folder of the project. Yes, here it is. Here I can say rename item class1.cs to formatting units. And there we are going to see that the name of the file has changed. Going to clear the Windows PowerShell. Next, we are going to edit these files, and we are going to use the template that I published on GitHub. github.com, and there we're going to search for my account, EOBIM. EOBIM users. In the user tab, you go to my account and find the Revit API external command boilerplate. You enter that repository and you open the first file. In the first file, you have an entire boilerplate of what you should write repeatedly in a repetitive way in .NET and in the files to accomplish a successful script. I'm going to copy the .cs project file template, and I'm going to paste it in the file of the current project. I'm going to delete what is comment. I'm going to save and close, and I'm going to do the same with the .cs file. I'm going to search here the template for the .cs. This is the actual C# file, and I am going to paste it. Okay, we are already set up. Next, I am going to leave this in here for a moment. Next, what I am going to do is to customize a bit this boilerplate. First of all, I am going to delete everything in order to have the opportunity to write it all again. And I'm going to rename this class. This class is going to be called format units to differentiate. And the namespace will be, yes, external command boilerplate. Let's see if it works with this namespace. And we are going to test it right away. We save and we say to the PowerShell .NET publish this current project that we are writing, --sc for self-contained. We're going to say it is not self-contained. This means that it will not copy the whole framework to when compiling, and we're going to say that the runtime will be win-x64, and also we're going to say that the configuration -c is release, and we're still missing one more element. Let's see which is that element. Let us see the other element that we are missing. Right, is the framework. Okay, and we are to type here F for framework, and we are going to say net 6.0. We're going to use currently we are in version 7.0, but we're going to use 6.0 to have a more wide covering on earlier versions. And we hit enter. Here it says the project file could not be loaded. Unexpected XML declaration. XML should be the first node in the document. Okay, let's see. We have an error with this file over here. So it seems to be saying that it cannot be in the second line. So let's move it, save it, and see what it does. Okay, it seems to be successful. Perfect. Let's go to our file, and we're going to see that a new folder appeared. This is the folder in where the .NET compiles the project. We have release folder, net 6.0, win-x64, and publish. Here it is. Here, this is the .dll, the dynamic linked library. And we're going to move to Revit in order to load this new external command. So let's hit load, and we are going to search for it. EO bin, current tutorial, formatting units, bin, release, and find the DLL. Open, here it is, and we're going to hit run. It is working. This is what the boilerplate does. It sets up everything in order to code. Okay, let's continue. Let's continue with our coding. I'm going to open the code over here in my right. I'm going to close the .csproj file, and I'm going to open another incredible thing. I will be using this .chm file. Let me show you what this is. I am going to open a new here in the file explorer. I'm going to move to local disk, and I'm going to open the Revit 2023 SDK. This is the software developer kit that you find in the software developer network of Autodesk. You download and install this, and here you will find a bunch of incredible assets for your learning. And one of them is this file over here, Revit API.chm. This is an application that contains the Revit API documentation. So this is incredible. This is what you will find in Revit API docs.com. And I have it open over here in my left, but I just wanted to tell you that this is what we are using. This is what we are using. So let's get right on to the code. Okay, here we have our Revit API documentation, and here we have our code. Let's start with this script. The first thing that we are going to do, I am going to delete the test dialog. I'm sorry, I'm going to leave it. We could use it after. I'm going to leave this return statement. This is the end of our code, this return statement. And first of all, I am going to get the active user interface document. I am going to get the active user interface document. I'm going to paste over here a helper that I have previously written. This is only a comment, don't worry. This is a comment to help us in the tutorial. I will also copy these lines. I like to use these lines to clearly differentiate parts of the code so we can follow more clearly. The first step that we are going to do is store the active UI document. The active user interface document represents whatever document is currently selected. Let me explain it better. I have here a document, right? A document in Revit. But if I say new project, I will have two documents, two projects. And this is important because I am going to execute this script in the current active document. I am going to affect this new project, this project 8, and not this previous project, this project 7. So this is very, very important. So let's go on with this project 8. I am going to select and isolate this project with this line, in this step of the tutorial. The first thing that we need to do in order to get the active user interface document is to store it in a variable. This is necessary because we have to specify the Revit API in which document are we working on. We cannot run the script on the air or on other place that is not an opened document. We need to have an active user interface document in order to set up and running to make work this script. So the first thing that we are going to say is that we are going to store an Autodesk.Revit. If you notice, I am just using these namespaces over here, but we are going to use the database, and here we're going to say document. We're going to call the document doc. This is going to be the name of the variable. In C#, remember, we have to specify the type of the value in order in order that the code works. Autodesk.Revit.database.document. We're going to use to store a document type element. We're going to store a document type element. Remember that. And we're going to get that document from the external command. The external command receives as arguments an external command data class instance, that is this command data. This command data passes on a default object that represents the current application in Revit. So we're going to grab this command data. Let me show you external command data so you can see it more clearly. Here in this Revit API documentation, external command data class. Here it is. Let's open it. External command data class. And here it says that it's a class that references the application at view which are needed by the external command. The external command data gives us access to the application of Revit and the view of Revit. And we are going to get this when we execute an external command. So command data is an instance of external command data class that allows us to reach the Revit application. Okay, with that class, we're going to say, with that in mind, we're going to say command data, and in that command data, we're going to see what are the possibilities. In that access to the application of Revit, we have a property called application. This retrieves an object that represents the current application for external command. Let's enter in, and here it says this is the current application, the user interface application. This is important. This is opening the user interface application. I think that there is another application class or property that references the database level. This references the user interface. So we're going to use that .application property to command data. Remember that command data is an external command data class instance. Here we reach the application, and here we reach the application in the user interface. Application. This application will retrieve an element of UI application type. Here we can see it, UI application type. Application is a property that gives us an UI application. Here in the documentation, we can go to that UI application and see that UI application represents an active session of the user Revit, of the Autodesk Revit user interface. We're reaching the interface right now with this application property. It's a property, but it retrieves this type of element. And of application, in this class, we're going to see that UI application has a very important member. I am saying here, I got the user interface, right? Because the class says that we have the active session of the Revit user interface. So this line of code gives me the interface. The interface is this, what I am seeing here in Revit. So let's go back to continue consulting this documentation. And when I see the members of this class that I am getting through the application property, I find that UI application has a property called active UI document. This property is very important. Active UI document gives us the access to the currently active project. So let's use it right away. Active user interface document. We paste it over here. Active user interface document. I want it to be close over here. This is a full line. If I move back, you can see the line is continuous. Active UI document. Let's see. In command data, we have external command data. This is a class that is crucial to external command. And through the command data, we get the Revit user interface application. With this property, we have the user interface. But with the new line that with the new element that we just add, with this new property, active user interface document, we're getting the current document that is active in Revit. Application gives us the Revit interface, and active UI document gives us the active document in the Revit interface. And active user interface document is another retrieve, an element of UI document type. This seems a bit complicated, but it's what really is happening. Active UI document retrieves a value of UI document type. So let's see what is this UI document. This is an object that represents an Autodesk Revit project opened in the Revit user interface. Okay, this seems like repetitive, but this is important because in this class that we are getting with this line, we get finally, we get in its properties the document. This is complicated, but actually this is the way that I have seen other people do it. And the document is so important because this document property, we're going to write it over here, document. This document property, and here it ends, this line. This document property returns the database level document represented by this UI level document. I mean, what this says is that with active UI document, we got the document in the user interface, right? We have the document. But we don't have the document in the database. The database is the place where we store the changes, where we write the changes or the state in the Revit model, in the Revit project. So one thing is to have the project on the user interface, and other thing is to have it in the database. So this is what we are doing over here. It seems very complicated, but actually I found that very interesting. Here we got external command data class. Here we got the current application in the Revit user interface. I mean, here we have the user interface. Here we have the active document, and here we have the document at a database level, as it says here. So we are set up. We already have our document in order to work, in order to make our script work. Now, let's go to the second step. Now we need to create an instance of the units class. I'm sorry, I'm going to paste this over here again, and we're going to specify that this is the second step. We need to instantiate current document units class. What does this mean? When we get the document, we will find that document has some properties. One of the properties of document is to set the units of the current document at a database level. Here it is. You can see that document has a method that sets the units of the project. We enter the method and we find that it requires units, a units class, a unit type element. We enter that element and we will see that unit is a class. It's a public class. This means that we have to instantiate this class in order to get the needed argument for changing the document units. So this is the first step. We could say, okay, we already have doc, and we could say doc dot set units. Well, but then we will have a problem because we have to pass here a unit type element in C#, and we don't have it yet. We need units. So let's create the units first. We go to the units class and we see that this class has a constructor. This means that it has a way to instantiate it, to create an object that is an instance of this class. Units, and we will find here a requirement for a unit system. Okay, so the same question is asked. I need a unit system. What is going to be my unit system? And when we enter the unit system, we find the end of this thread. You're seeing that we are like tracking down a path to being able to create our script. First of all, we need the document, right? Then we need units. Okay. Then we need unit system. Okay, we're understanding now. So we need unit system in order to have units, in order to have the document changed. So we found when we looked for unit system that this is an enumeration. An enumeration in this namespace in Autodesk Revit is the bottom of the search for this part of the element. So let's begin with unit system. Look here that unit system is something that you get right from the namespace. You don't have to instantiate this. Let's see. We can say I'm going to store the unit system over here in a variable in order to use it. Autodesk Revit unit system. I can call it right away because it is not instantiated. Unit system, and I'm going to call this variable unit system. Unit unit system, unsys. Okay, and I'm going to say Autodesk Revit. I'm saying in the autodesk.revit.db namespace, find the unit system type. And I'm going to say, from that unit system, you're going to give me a member of that unit system, and it only has two members. Here it says it has a metric and imperial. This is changing the project from imperial to metric if we do it in that way, or from metric to imperial. So let's try it. This is so interesting. We're going to try metric first. We're going to say autodesk.revit.db.unitsystem.metric. There it is. And we have already our unit system. Which is our unit system? Our unit system is metric. This is what we are saying. Now, we are going to continue doing our code. We're going to remember this because we're going to try this script in both ways. Then I am going to create unit, right? We already have unit system. Let's put it over here. We already have unit system. Now let's search for units. I'm going to search here units class. Okay, we have it here, units class, members and constructor. The units are constructed in this way. So I'm going to store an unit in a variable in order to change the document units so we can see it better. Here it says that unit system is located in Autodesk Revit database namespace. I'm going to copy this, paste it over here. I'm going to say from Autodesk Revit database, you're going to give me an unit type, and I'm going to say project units. This is going to be the name of my variable, and I'm going to say you're going to give me, I'm going to create a new autodesk.revit.db units that asks for this argument, ask for a unit system, but we already have the unit system stored in this variable. So we're going to pass this variable and we are done. Here it is. And we already have units. Okay, we are done. And now we're going to we're going to change the document units. So let's go to document class, to our document class. And we're going to remember how the units are changed. We remember that it's called set units. This is the method that changed the project units. So we should call the document and the method of the document. So we would say document. We already have it stored in the variable document dot set units, and we pass as an argument units. What are the units? The units that we already stored over here. Okay, this is great. We already have it. And we say we are done changing the document units. So let's try to see if this script works so far. I'm going to save it. I am going to compile it to see if it compiles correctly. I'm going to say .NET publish. Okay, hit enter, and let's see if the code is correct. It says it has an error, in line 39. of course, it has an error over here. I missed the semicolon. And then I'm going to try to compile again, and let's see what happens. The compiling process is correct. Let's go back to Revit. Let's go to our Manage tab, our project units, and we see that everything is in fits. Everything is in fits. Now, let's call the adding manager to execute our command, our external command. We hit run. Okay, we have here a problem. Autodesk Revit exception, modification outside of transaction. What this is saying that we tried to change the project unit outside of a transaction. This is incredible. Let's see here what happened. We tried to write in the document without starting a transaction. This is our problem. We started a modification of the project at a database level without a transaction. And let's see what is a transaction. Let's find in the Revit API transaction. Here we have it, transaction class. Okay, transactions are context-like objects that guard any changes made to the Revit models. And we can read further in the remarks. Any change to a document can only be made while there is an active transaction open for that document. What this is saying is that we can't change the project units outside of a transaction. Okay, what is a transaction? It's a class. It's a public class. So we need to instantiate it. So let's go to members and we're going to find a constructor. Transaction needs a document only in order to start. So let's start a transaction. I'm going to use this syntax, this C# syntax. I'm using transaction type element called set units, and we're going to create a new transaction and we're going to pass the document. Where is the document? Here is the document. Doc, it contains the document in the active user interface document. Okay, when we say that we are using the transaction, we have to specify curly brackets to define the space where the transaction is going to work. And inside of that curly braces, we have to start the transaction. So we're going to say, I'm sorry, this syntax, I don't like this syntax. Set units that contains the transaction, set units dot start. This command starts the transaction, and we're going to say at the end, set units commit. Commit saves the transaction in the Revit model. And inside of those elements, I'm going to put the code. I'm going to change the project units inside of the transaction. So we are ready to go. I'm going to save and I am going to compile. Let's see how the script works now. Okay, it compiled correctly, and I'm going to call the adding manager. I have it in shortcuts in my keyboard, and I'm going to execute it. Run. The transaction does not have a valid name assigned yet. Okay, this is a common mistake. Here it says that I can create a transaction only with a document, but this documentation has an error, because I see that there is another constructor, and technically it should work with both constructors, but it doesn't work. So it only works with the second one. and it requires a string that is the name of the transaction. So let's try it. I'm going to say here document, and I'm going to pass the string set change units. Okay, save. I compile it again. It will compile successfully, and we're going to open our Revit, call the script, and execute it. And it is working. And now let's see if it changed our unit system. Manage tab, project units, and here we say incredible, it's changed from feet to meters. So we are done in this part. We already changed the metric system of our project. So this will be it for this video, and in the next video we're going to continue to format the units. Already we have changed the units. We can see it in here. We changed it from meters to feet. But in the next video, we're going to change them. We're going to change the format of them. Not only the metric, the unit system, but the format of specific fields. But before doing that, we're going to change how this script works if we change the metric system to imperial. We already have it here in metric system, but let's change it to imperial. Let's go to the documentation and let's find unit system enumeration. Here it is, and we find that the other member is imperial. Let's change here metric for imperial, and let's save it for a future time. I am commenting this out. This won't, the compiler won't read this, but it will read this line over here. So let's compile the project again. It will compile successfully, and let's try in Revit to see if this unit system is altered when we run the script again. I'm going to delete this one, so we can only see the one that we are using. I hit run, it says I am working, and let's see, manage project units, and it changed again to fit. And if we do it again, it will work again, of course. I'm going to comment imperial out, and I'm going to get back the metric one. Here it is. I'm going to save, I'm going to compile. Okay, it's going to compile successfully. I'm going to go to Revit, and I'm going to see if this changes again the unit system. I'm going to run the command and check the unit system. Okay, it works perfectly. So friends, this is it for our tutorial, incredible script on C#. I hope you find that useful.